views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Coming up on this edition of Perspectives, People Serving People. We'll introduce you to a very special guest who's handling the issue of food insecurity and mental health wellness for our African American community. That's front and center on Perspectives with yours truly, Daren Jaime.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
Express what's on your mind. What's on your mind?
Let 'em know. Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference in someone's life. Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to Perspectives. I am Daren Jaime. Again, we thank you for joining us. And as always, you can watch Perspectives every week here on BronxNet's Channel 67. We also invite you to stay connected to us on our social media platforms. There you can go to BronxNet TV. Now, if you want more information in regards to the show, well, you can get me on my personal page on social media. That's Daren C. Jaime. And then also on Instagram and Twitter at DCJaime23. And I guarantee you'll find some information as well as possibly some inspiration. Well, coming up front and center on the show today, we discuss the issue of food insecurity and mental health and wellness. But our guest today is one of the original producers of WBLS FM's After Work Mix and Mingle, which was one of New York's most successful promoter radio station produced events. He tackles now food insecurity in the Black community. His name, Randy Glover. He is also the chairman of the All Access Community Development Corporation. And Randy, thank you for being with us here on the show.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you. Wow, I didn't expect you to come out with the entertainment part of WBLS and us doing those events back in the day where people were very happy to meet Brian McKnight, Eric Benet, you name it, we had them, as well as the comedians. That was like a really great situation. And it's funny, Bob Lee from BLS, last week, he's like, Rand, you need to do, kind of like a reunion, because it was such a unique thing. I still run into people in the street who say they've never experienced that kind of thing again, where you could actually touch the performer, speak to them. Or like one night it was Genuine, Joe, Avant, and a couple of dudes just hang out in the hallway, and the women were coming into the club and they were like, that looks like so-and-so. And Genuine overheard him and he was like, oh yeah, no, it's me. It was like people usually don't have that opportunity to touch the people that they listen to.
Yeah. Well, for yourself, it was an opportunity to really put something on that really, we talk about, benefited the community. but when we go back and when we look at during those times, community, we needed that. We need to come together. We need to have those moments of, entertainment and to be honest, like even a huge takeaway from life, because when we look at some of the things we were dealing with economically as a community, as a race, as a people, entertainment, music, that was our safe place. And, you helped to provide that.
Hey, with the help of WBLS, the Sutton family, and all of the people who were instrumental at WBLS that helped me put that together, as well as it was a collaboration of my company, the radio station, the record labels, because I also did the same thing in Philadelphia with Butterball and the number one station there, which was WDAS. So it just worked out. When God aligns everything, he has a way of just sustaining us. So I did that, but over the years I transitioned more to like public service, and that being I'm the chairman and executive director of All Access Community Development Corporation, and essentially what we do here in Bergen County is we try to make our people comfortable when seeking services. We are tackling right now, specifically since the pandemic has happened, food insecurity. We're tackling food insecurity for our community. We're tackling food insecurity for our seniors. We're also doing on-site registration for SNAP and LIHEAP. So here in Bergen County, SNAP is what traditionally is called food stamps, and LIHEAP is home energy heating. And what people don't realize, like I just looked at the AMI, which is the income levels of what's considered low income, very low, and extremely low in Bergen County. Low income is $64,000. Okay. Now, for most Black people, we don't even make $50,000 a year. Okay. So you qualify for all the services. For LIHEAP, which is if you're in New York, would be basically Con Ed. You would be able to get assistance for home heating, electricity, and services. A family of four up to $105,000 a year. So by far, you know, when we think of poor people, those are not the dollar figures we think about. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about affordability, accessibility, and things like that, if you're being judged by that barometer, that means a lot of our people are very low down on the income spectrum. So we try to soften that blow, give them a cushion by delivering those services on site by people who look like our clientele. So my staff is African American. Okay. We also do monthly pamper distribution. We also do monthly feminine napkin distribution. We also have a nutritionist that comes in monthly that the community has access to. So, you know, the whole thing is about sustainability. How do we help our community sustain? One of the things that we really concentrated on since the pandemic is feeding our community. We were up to 3,000 meals per week up until about a month and a half ago. Now we're, you know, down to 300 because it's like now I'm spending $2,500 a week, a little more than that, close to 3,000 a week, you know, feeding our people. So I have to limit it to just the seniors. And when we say we're feeding our community, we're feeding them complementary meals from African American vendors. I
just want to jump in real quick because I wanted to underscore the fact that when you talk about providing these meals, a lot of this really stemmed from looking at COVID, right? And
correct.
When we look at COVID, we understood, and you gave that number about Bergen County and what that number looks like. And even if you go across the bridge right into the city, we know that the predominantly African Americans, communities of color, are the ones who are the most adversely affected when it comes to food insecurity. You're seeing the lines for food, it looks like us. You're seeing something for supplies being given out, it looks like us. And so here you are, and you take this and you decide, I'm going to actually do something about it. And not only do you do something about it, you know, it's really continuing to pay dividends because month after month, you've got people who are continuously still coming to that line, even though in some instances, people can say we're better off now than we were at the initial start. But for us, we find ourselves still in the same boat.
Correct. I don't see our community really getting any better. Like, I'll tell you, like the type of meals that I offer, right? Like, so today is a community complimentary meal day for seniors. So today they're having turkey wings, mac and cheese, and collard greens. That's one part of the meal. The other part, like I'm giving them 3 different meal choices today. So it's what I just mentioned. Then it's also salmon with 2 vegetables or tilapia with 2 vegetables. So this is not your run-of-the-mill pantry where you're just driving up or you're getting these canned goods, right? I don't do that. I also deliver. I have a driver who makes about 35 stops for those people who are, incapable of coming out for whatever reason. We also service the senior buildings here in Hackensack, New Jersey. So my executive assistant is also a housing commissioner. So that helped me gain access into the housing developments where the seniors live at. And so we know how many meals to deliver. It's close to like 100 to them, so they don't even have to leave their building. We get their name, we know their address, their apartment number and their phone number. And once we have that basic information, we're able to give them a very decent meal. To me, just because we give you something doesn't mean it has to be substandard, doesn't mean it shouldn't look familiar to what we're used to having. And I want our people to feel like, gee, I can't afford to buy this meal at the restaurant, but there's a service that's allowing me to still feel like myself, and that's what it's about. It's about, people feel devalued. I don't want you to feel devalued. It's important that we keep our mental strength, as well as our physical strength. And that just leads me into the other things that we're working on. Like right now, we're working on mental health for the African American community. And then we're also working on mental health initiative for kids and their parents due to the stresses of COVID.
Yeah. What have you found out through this? Because when we talk about the mental health of those, particularly for parents and for children, we know that isolation has been huge. A lot of people really, even though we're very well-connected people, had to endure the issue of being isolated during this. But talk to us about some of the mental health stresses that you've been able to uncover in working with people.
Well, it's really just the isolation is a big thing. The feeling of being insecure, the feeling of, like, with the parents being with the children all day, still being stressed because it depends on your income level. If you're at work and you're able to do, Zooms and or you're an IT person, that's a different stress level than a person that's minimally employed, or what we, a frontline worker being a grocery store clerk or something like that. You're facing some really stressful issues. And then you have to help your kids with the schoolwork, okay? And then your kids aren't seeing their friends, they're going through their own things, they're into their feelings. And this generation is different than a whole lot of generations of kids, So these are all issues that need to be tackled. I mean, our kids have missed almost 2 years of school, How employable are they going to be? What's their skill set at this point? Because their counterparts, they might have mental issues, but they are not. One of the things that they're not going to face is uncertainty about unemployment or employment. There'll always be something set up for them.
Let me take a quick break, Randy, and come back and talk more as we have perspectives here with Daren Jaime. We're thankful for Randy Glover sharing with us a little bit about his work that he's doing, particularly in this COVID-19 pandemic, as we're trying to still wrestle and come out of it. Food insecurity, sustainability, among some of the great things that Randy's doing. And we'll talk more with him and find out more after this.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
Welcome back to Perspectives. Daren Jaime here with you. Our guest, Randy Glover, as he's sharing a little bit with us about the work that he's doing in this COVID-19 pandemic and honestly taking a yeoman's effort in providing sustainability through food insecurity and mental health services out in Bergen County. But it's not just something that's going on in Bergen County. It's something that's going on really across the nation where we recognize that there's a need. And fortunately, we find people that are able to fill that need. And that's why he's an important guest to have with us here on Perspectives, because he actually took matters into his own hands. And, Randy, when I think about this, that's not something that I just take lightly. And I think we should take lightly that you saw a need, you filled a need, and you were able to take these matters into your own hands because you understood that this was just, a micro of a macro, which is a bigger problem that we have, which is sustainability. Poverty in the United States continues to be huge. When we look in New York State, three upstate cities lead the nation's top 10 in poverty in the tri-state area. And so when we look at the needs, I guess I got to ask the question, you got your hands on the pulse a little bit. Where do you think we need to go from here to make your job a little easier and the burden on people a lot lighter?
I think we need to come together as a community. As I was saying to your producers, we have all of these organizations, right? We have, and not to really be calling people out, but we have the Divine Nine, we have the NAACP, we have the National Action Network, we have a plethora of fraternities and sororities, a plethora of 501c3s, but everyone has their own agenda. And maybe it's time that we come together to have a conversation to really assess the needs of the community. And hey, I don't mind being a brave or a little Indian, as long as the focus is on our community coming up with workable, sustainable solutions to move our people forward. We're actually still fighting the exact same fights that our fathers and grandfathers fought. And essentially, we're refighting them because there was no one wanted to take an emeritus position and be a true mentor and pass the ceremonial torch, where you and I can say we benefited hands on from that person in our community, and then we will bring younger people in to benefit from what we're learning. You know that, and that kind of pivots me into Juneteenth. This is my second year doing Juneteenth in Bergen County, and I decided to do it last year because in our county, a different culture has their thumb on who was doing Juneteenth. Like, they celebrated it for quite a number of years, but a different culture was in charge. And my perspective is no other culture lets a different culture dictate how they celebrate their culture. Okay. For some odd reason, we always have the thumb on our heads, right? To say you have to do it this way, or you can't do it, or we have infighting. Fortunately, my own personal resources can cover a lot of the things that I do. So that means I don't have to listen to other people. And since I don't have to listen to other people, I can produce things the way I want to produce them, right? And that includes the Juneteenth event. So this year, the focus is on kind of like a powwow, having a conversation, but having a conversation with the president of the Bergen County NAACP, the director of the National Action Network. Some people here I have is Arnold Brown. He's the historian here. Dr. Leonard Jeffries.
Professor I had in City College. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. He brings that Black history now. He's going to make sure you know Black history.
Reverend Daltrey, Minister Moner, and Dr. Onaji Muad, right? As well as others, community leaders, mothers, women's organizations. And then spike it with entertainment. Nat Adderley Jr. will be performing. I have a Caribbean band performing. And then I have a local dance troupe performing. So I'm trying to integrate it, with edutainment, so to speak. A little bit of educating the community while entertaining the community. And it's from 12 to 5 at Overpeck Park, which is a county park here in Bergen County, it's located at 199 Challenger Road in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. And we'll be celebrating Juneteenth on June 19th, which is also Father's Day this year.
Talk to me a little bit about the mantle that needs to be passed, because we know that for a long time there was a fight just to get Juneteenth recognized. Now, not only is it recognized, it's federalized, right? And the unfortunate part is it's becoming commercialized. So we've gone from federalized to commercialized, and somewhere along the line, there's a huge fear about allowing, our history to become commercialized to the place where it doesn't even, it loses its value and its significance.
Well, I could tell you, I will never go to a Juneteenth Macy's sale. Okay. I think, between Juneteenth, the 1619 Project, and the Amistad Project, these are important things that need to be taught in school to our children. Here in New Jersey, the Amistad Project has been officially sanctioned to be taught for about 20 to 22 years, yet most schools don't teach that. They don't teach anything about African American history. It's kind of interesting that you have to go to college to basically learn about African American history, and most of the time it's an elective unless you are, majoring in that subject. So we also have to be better keepers of our community. Again, this is where our elders have to be willing to be just mentors to be emeritus leaders. Just the same way you have emeritus chairmans, we need emeritus community leaders. We need them to mentor, pass the torch, stay visible, right? But at the same time, they're staying visible. You have to have, like, we have a middle school teacher in Inglewood who he probably knows every kid in that school. They respect him. The parents respect him. That's a mentor. That's somebody that they can look at and respect. Okay. He has kids of his own, but he also has time for every single student. You have young pastors. You have these people who interact with the community intimately. Like, do I know who ran the community or who was important in the community 50 years ago? Not really. Do I know who's essential to the community now? Definitely. And
I want to talk about. I got to cut you because I'm almost out of time. But I want to say this: when you talk about essential to the community, I want to thank you because you are essential to the community. Because what you're doing is you're helping to bridge the gap for a lot of people and help the lives of others. And I got to bring it back because I'm out of time. But I want to thank you so much for the work that you're doing, Randy Glover, being with us here, helping with food insecurity, mental health, and bringing awareness to the issues that we have in our community. Randy, thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you, Daren. You are a fantastic host.
Hey, man, thank you. Listen, I got to get out of here, but Randy got to come back. So I want to tell our viewers, listen, thank you for watching here on Perspectives. I am Daren Jaime. We enjoyed having you. Great show. Come back next week where we continue to elevate the conversation and bring you some more inspiring guests right here on Perspectives. Take care.
Share your perspective.